much for coming, and thank you at home for joining us. It's the Christian View. Welcome. It's where we take today's hot topics and we weigh them against the Word of God, because God does have a view. And we have such a special guest with us today. She was born one of 12 children. She was born into poverty, abuse. She was a high school dropout. She was a teen mom. Let's give a warm welcome for Vanderbilt law professor, Carol Swain.
Hi.
Amen. Woo.
Carol, I am so excited that you're here, and I think I'm so fascinated most of all of your journey of how you got to where you are. You really beat some amazing odds. Could you just give us some highlights about how you got to where you are today?
Well, if I were answering that question years ago, the answer I would give you would probably be very different. I would probably say I don't know.
That's fair.
But it's so clear to me that, you know, that God really does know us before He forms us in our mother's wombs.
Amen.
And that God has always been a part of my life. I was born and raised in rural poverty. I had 11 siblings. We all dropped out of school after the 8th grade. I married at 16, had my first child at 17. And by the time I was 21, I had 3 small children.
Wow.
One died of that sudden infant syndrome called crib death. And through it all, as a child, I always felt that there was something I was supposed to do. I was never at ease in the situation that I was in. And I always knew, even though I didn't become a devout believer until later in life, that there was something bigger than me, God, in my life. But I would not have called it Jesus Christ at the time. I didn't know what it was.
Amazing. You know, I read in your book that you grew up in a home that did not even have a bathroom or even an outhouse, and that just was absolutely amazing to me. But then you said, I didn't know that I was poor.
Well, it's not, I mean, I think I knew I was poor, but I didn't know that I was handicapped. By the time I started college, I did not go to college thinking that I was disadvantaged because I was a woman or because I was poor. And so, I mean, I knew we were poor, but I did not feel that there was a disadvantage that was going to hold me back. It did not define me.
It's great.
Important.
Carol, if, say there's a young woman watching this show, what advice would you give her if she came from the same background? Like, how did you turn around? What would you say to a young woman that's experienced some of what you experienced?
Well, first
because
of
it's
all,
not uncommon.
I mean, I'm a university professor. I have 5 degrees. I didn't plan any of that. It was not planned by me. And it's so clear that God had a journey for me. I did not know any university professors growing up. And so if I was waiting on the role model to show me what to do,
It wasn't there.
It wasn't there. And what I did was get my high school equivalency, the GED. I took a job outside the home. And it's just like God brought people into my life that steered me. And so I think that God does give us dreams. I never felt that it was God's will for me to be poor, to be trapped in the situation that I was in.
Yes.
But initially, I was only looking for a job, and I just wanted to be a store manager. I just wanted to work at the mall and sell beautiful women like clothes. I wanted to sell you clothes at the mall. That was my ambition.
But when we look at today's society and we have the heightened awareness of everybody wanting to be famous, everyone wanting to be glamorous, everyone wanting to be fabulous and rich and wealthy, and that's what our young people see. And when you look back and I read like your story, and you said initially you wanted to be a nurse, but then you started working as...
They didn't let me in.
Right. How then do we help them to understand? Because now it is like not valued to work in places that would not have these high esteems, like nursing, working in a restaurant in high school. They think, a lot of our younger kids now think they're just going to come right out and you know, bling bling, you know.
Well, I mean, it's so clear to me that God has always been a part of my life. And I worked as a nurse's aide, and you know that's lower than a nurse.
Yes.
And so I've cleaned dead bodies, and I've bathed people, and I did not have the vision for being a university professor. So initially, I was just looking for a job to support my family because I'd gone through a divorce. And so God brought people in my life that encouraged me along the way. And people, God does that. And I can remember in my early 20s, late teens, strangers coming up to me saying, "You're going to be famous someday." Now, it was nothing about me or what I was doing that would explain it. And so, but God knows who we are.
You know what he did, Dr. Swain? He did the same thing he did with me. He spoon-fed you. Little by little, he brought these things along in your life, because if he had taken you in that situation and said, "Now, I want you to say you're about to be a Vanderbilt University law professor," it would have blown you completely out of the water at that point in time.
Wait a minute, he took me to Princeton first. I was tenured at Princeton University.
Wow, that really would have blown you away,
I went from graduate school, you know, poverty. The last year I worked before I started as a professor, I made $13,000. That was 1989. That was my salary. And then when I was hired, I think I made 50-some. I got a signing bonus, $25,000, which was a lot then.
Yes.
But I wanted to go back to something else you said. When I was growing up, I thought I was the ugliest person in the world because I have a scar here. My siblings call me Fish Eyes and Herman the Munster, because the scar comes down like this. And so I was in my 20s before anyone ever told me I was attractive. Wow. And
Beautiful.
well, thank you. But it was a medical doctor that told me I was attractive, I was intelligent, I could do more with my life. And I had, and that was a factor in my getting my GED
Self-esteem.
and remembering that there was a time when I was in school before I dropped out that I was smart. So I always knew that I was smart.
You knew it.
And then in the nursing home, I'm working, you know, wiping people's butts, excuse me. This African orderly said, "You know, I go to college with a lot of people that are not as smart as you. You ought to go to college." And that's when I checked and found out that you could go to college, you know, with the GED. And that's how I got into college. And so I didn't have this grand plan for a PhD. In fact, I would never have become a university professor. I was too shy. I was shy up until I had my Christian conversion experience in 1999. And that's when God took away the shyness. And I know I had to have been a horrible teacher because I tried to write out everything I was going to say because I was too afraid. Someone asked me my name, I would forget my name.
Hey, listen, we're going to come right back. We'll be right back with Dr. Carol Swain. We're not going to let you forget your name.